What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews. I'm going to try and do something a little different this time around. I can't say that I'm going to be doing a full-on podcast, but I'm going to try and dab into this whole audio podcast thing and just see where it goes. If you want more of these, just give this a thumbs up or message me on any one of my social media platforms. For now, I think what I'll do is have some spoiler discussions since my reviews are typically spoiler free, and maybe even do some quick commentary on movie issues in the future. Anyway, today I'm joined by my colleague Don Shanahan as we talk about Spider Man Homecoming. This is our immediate thoughts and reactions after viewing the film. Now, before we start, just a quick note on Don. What's really cool about him is that he's a school teacher that's also a film critic. You can find him at his website, everymoviehasalesson.com, and check out his movie classroom videos while you're there. Okay, without further ado, let's dive into the spoiler discussion of Spider Man Homecoming. All right, everybody, it's me, E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews, and I am here with Don Shanahan from Every Movie Has a Lesson, and we just saw Spider-Man Homecoming. Let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So Aunt May's hot, and that topless scene is amazing. No, I'm sorry. That, wrong spoiler. Wrong spoiler.
Let's start off with Aunt May because she is a talking point.
Sure.
I'm actually kind of, I don't know if I'm disappointed and or happy that they didn't prop up the sexy Aunt May. Like,
you don't think they propped it up? I think
No,
every man who looks at her loves her.
they mentioned it,
Yeah.
but like in the beginning,
Mhm.
but I think that was probably short-lived because after a while, and I don't want to sound mean with this, but she started to show her age a little bit to me.
She's still, I don't know.
I mean,
if she's still a woman over 45.
I mean, she looks
You
good
know.
for her
Oh, she
age,
looks
but I'm
fantastic.
just saying she's not the 30-year-old that she almost appeared to be in Civil War. I mean, that's just the way she looked. I don't know.
I still think, without being over the top lusty, this isn't Jennifer Coolidge from the old American Pie movies. Like, she's
Yeah.
not trying to be a MILF,
Right,
but
right.
still gets to be a
Yeah, I
MILF
mean-
in an appropriate, minorly squeaky clean, family-ish PG-13 movie. Like, I think the envelope was pushed as far as they were going to let it go.
Yeah,
and she's still, and I think it was also in response to her casting. Like, as soon as
Right.
Marissa Tomei was cast, we're like, wow, that's the hottest Aunt May
Yeah.
and youngest Aunt May possible. And I think the filmmakers kind of ran with that ever
Yeah.
since Civil War, and it works.
I'm just glad they didn't push it. I mean, I know her character isn't trying to be hot and sexy.
No.
I'm just glad the film didn't push that angle too much.
Yeah, I thought it was the right amount of. I'm a hot Aunt May, but I'm still your Aunt May. I'm still
Right.
a grounding anchor
Right.
presence
Which
for her.
I think some people
Peter.
will find a level of comfort with because
Yeah.
I know on my page some people were talking about how they just felt conflicted, like, ooh, Aunt May looks like a MILF, but I
Yeah.
miss old Aunt May.
Sally
And
Field was really
Yeah,
good
you know,
one
and
franchise ago.
I think we get some of that once we see more of Aunt May's
Yeah.
nurturing side.
And I think if she's going to be around, it can help.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
I agree with that. So
I'm glad it's a different take,
Yeah.
because so much about this film is a different take from what Sam Raimi has done and Mark Webb has done.
There are a lot of differences, and we'll get into those differences.
The first note I wrote on my
Yeah.
notes tonight, that'll probably be the opening paragraph of my review, is clean slate. I feel like this is an absolute clean slate. Now, the anchors are there with the Avengers, but in terms of giving you a different Spider-Man, this isn't a Batman movie that's retelling the Uncle Ben origin. There's no great power comes great responsibility cheesy line. We just get
First of all,
the most real. Go ahead.
that line is a classic.
It's
It
a
is
classic,
not
and it
cheesy.
deserves to be a classic.
But-
But if they get to go a different direction, it's
But,
okay.
but luckily, Uncle Ben can finally rest in peace.
Yes.
Like, he
Oh,
doesn't
geez.
have to come back to
No,
life and die again.
I feel
So,
bad for whoever could have been cast as Uncle Ben.
I mean, no, I agree with you with the clean slate, but I'd say
Yeah.
it's not just a clean slate, but I swear from the very beginning, it was just like merger. You know, you just see this whole like, hey everybody, Spider-Man, Avengers, Marvel, we're together.
Yeah.
And here's every single reference that we can
A lot of Easter
possibly
eggs.
give to you.
That
to
opening
let you know,
5 minutes
hey,
of
you know
video
what?
diary, bringing
Right.
back Civil War.
Remember
yeah.
Avengers with the situation or
Yeah.
the event in New York?
Which I thought was
we're showing
cleverly
that.
done.
I like that.
You know.
Without having to really give much of an origin story.
I don't need to.
I like the fact
definitely
that
appreciate that.
I like the fact that they showed everything. Like Avengers Tower is there.
Yep.
Happy
Happy Hogan.
like all the little things that could, if you just so happen to watch the Avengers for whatever reason now, it's a nice transition right into this movie, and they don't spend too much time into it, which is fine.
Yeah, other than being an origin source for the villain.
Yeah.
But a simple one, nothing too complicated.
Yeah. But I definitely like the fact that they showed. I think this is probably one of the most obvious movie with. I'm sorry, it's the one Marvel movie that probably has the most obvious Easter eggs out there.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with it too.
Yeah.
So I don't really think
we got
that.
Betsy Brandt, we got the Prowler, we got the Scorpion, we got the Vulture.
I don't really think that the websites are going to have to do a lot of work to show you anything that you probably couldn't have figured out if you've read a couple Spider-Man comics.
Right. Nephews, wink, wink. Love that.
I mean, definitely was. I
spoilers.
I kind of cheated. I had looked at the IMDb casting, and I had known that Prowler was going to be in it, and I thought that was a really good nod to the fans.
Yeah.
Because everybody did want Donald Glover to be Miles Morales.
He's
but
aged out of that now.
obviously, it's too late for that. Even though he is voicing him in Ultimate Spider-Man. But
before we're done with this recording, you're casting Miles Morales in the future.
you have to. I mean, you have
I
to
got a
at
guy.
this point. I mean,
got a guy.
I got a couple.
I don't want to take away a new top 5 video here.
No. I mean, it's definitely.
I don't want to take away 2018 material here.
It's definitely a video that needs to happen.
All right, I'll let that be a tease for another day.
Yeah. But not only that. I mean, since we're on Easter egg characters, I mean, the Scorpion being on there. That was a pretty
shocker,
which
which wasn't
big
a spoiler.
giveaway. Yeah. I mean, Shocker was on there. I like the fact that they even got him with his little sleeves and stuff.
Yeah,
so,
perfect.
I'm hoping that they don't try and build a movie around him.
I have a bad feeling.
Even a spin-off.
I have a bad feeling Sinister Six.
Well,
is still
you know
coming.
what? I've always been against the Sinister Six movie when they were trying to do it with the Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew
the last
Garfield.
one? Yeah.
Because I thought it was a complete throwaway. It was a garbage tie-in. But
especially
I think
because they didn't do a very good
they didn't
Goblin
do a good
and do a
job
good
with
Electro.
any
Like
of it,
I don't
but
trust that that's going to go anywhere.
I think with this movie they did a good job in terms of setting them up without going over the top with it.
Okay.
I mean, if you were to happen to do a Sinister Six movie, I'd believe it now.
Yeah.
Now that I've
seems
seen
more organic.
Yeah.
than constructed.
This
The last one felt like, we're going to walk these people into this lab with all these costumes.
Right.
Let's
and
go.
like, hey,
this
let's
would be
just
more,
get a ragtag team together.
Yeah. This would be more.
Now it's like, hey, now
plots
you actually
and
have people.
They're weaving the tapestry to make this.
I mean,
yeah.
You've got characters that actually don't like Spider-Man,
right?
For realistic reasons.
Yeah.
So it definitely makes sense.
This is an Osborn-free Spider-Man movie.
It was.
Which
I
is
was
pleasant
shocked about that
because from a movie standpoint, that might as well be Lex Luthor,
I
where
was
it's
very,
overdone.
very
I'm glad they
shocked.
got a different villain.
But here's
and a
the
different
reason,
track.
though. I'm more shocked that Osborn isn't there because Tony Stark is there.
Of course,
I
because of
would
the
have been-
size
the
of what
size
Osborn
of
is.
Oscorp should technically, in a sense,
be a rival, right?
Tony Stark. And I
Be a
thought that
tower
would have been
across
an
town.
awesome tie-in, and they didn't put it in there. So
Saving something for later.
maybe. I mean, you kind of have to.
Well, here, all of this has been late term creation. Like this, I mean, the Avengers are established. Like this, we're 10 years into the MCU, so we have established Avengers. We have the possibility of a closing arc with this crew in a movie or two.
Yeah.
Yet here we are with a brand new Teenage Spider-Man. Can they spin a new Osborn for this universe out of this that wasn't a Stark rival, but maybe can be a Stark contemporary now that we're the timeline's younger than what it would be.
One thing
in
is
canon.
that you know, and I think Oscorp, for whatever it is, it's not, even though it could be a rival to Stark Industries, it doesn't necessarily need to be a direct competitor because he
No.
could deal more with, you know, biomedical
Sure.
stuff, or like they can find a different way to make him exist,
Uh-huh.
but not necessarily make him an overarching figure. But I would like to see how they introduce him and keep him in the background.
Yes.
Because we really don't need
Nope.
him
It's been
now.
overdone.
Not now.
If he's the
Um,
cherry on top after others have been introduced,
I'm
cool
fine with that because you do still need someone to bring those Sinister Six together.
Right.
You still need someone to fund them and,
And
to give
I
them
think
money
that seed's
and, you
been
know.
planted without saying a name.
Yeah.
In our mid-credit scene,
Yeah.
you know, which is
but,
fine.
You know,
I'll
Yeah.
say it in this way. I don't think this movie, unlike other Spider-Man films, bit off more than it could chew. I think this was the best. This is easily the best high school version of Spider-Man we've gotten.
It is.
Than any of the Tobey Maguire
Now-
brief stuff in high school.
now that could be hit or miss though for some people because
You'll look at the Avengers part of this and say, too late. They already bit off more than they can chew anyway.
right. I mean, it's just the question of like, was this the right tone to go with for Spider-Man? You know, I was talking to a fellow critic in
Yeah.
there, and I was telling them that I don't think that this movie is for comic fans.
No, this is for MCU
This
fans.
is, I don't even know if it's MCU. I mean, it is,
Yeah.
because I think with MCU fans, it's almost kind of like redundant, because at this point, if you've been watching the MCU, you're kind of in it by default.
Sure you are.
You know, you're so heavily invested. I don't care what they make a movie about, you're going to go watch it.
I'll liken it to this.
mhm.
All of the X-Men films of Bryan Singer have so little connection to the comic book with the modern
True.
setting that they started in
True.
the year 2000 that this is a movie version of Spider-Man that just happens to
Yeah.
have the tropes that we know of Spider-Man.
I mean,
Enough
well-
where because none of the X-Men films
Yeah,
can play their canon card
Sure.
at all.
I mean,
Maybe we're
that's-
entering that with Spider-Man.
That's definitely a indicator that this is not for comic fans. Whenever
Exactly. That's
whenever
what I mean.
movies stray very
because
far
there are
away,
hardcore comic fans that do not like the X-Men films.
No,
because they have nothing
absolutely,
to do with
absolutely.
books.
And I mean, I think that's an expectation that we need to no longer carry anyway. We shouldn't be expecting things to be exactly like
No,
the comic book.
I completely agree.
However, I do think that it does become problematic when you stray away from very centralistic aspects of a character and you go away from that. And I'll get into
Right.
that later because
And
that's probably one of my biggest grievances.
I see what you're saying.
with this
and
movie.
This reminds me of when David Fowley and all of us had a podcast show. Shout out to Ian Simmons, where David mentioned. I think we were doing. I think it was after Doctor Strange, where we were all getting together and doing a show. And David had said, you know, I hope all these characters that they bring in, because at the time Doctor Strange was very obscure and not a movie audience kind of character. David, I have to go back and listen to the show, but I remember David talking to some level saying the books are still always going to be these characters' roots.
Sure.
Like, you know, even though these movies financially will be more successful in this opening weekend than they'll ever be in a year's worth of comic sales.
Sure.
Like, the movies have gotten bigger than the books ever have been and might ever be. But it has to start there
Yeah.
with fingers on pages and a tactile feel and a visual storytelling and long-form storytelling that and even though those might not be cost advantageous anymore because these movies can just make themselves, that you lose essences of characters if you don't still have a book of which you can
Well,
cling
no,
to.
I would disagree on this principle. For
Yeah.
my childhood growing up, before there were comic books, there were the X-Men cartoon,
Sure.
there was the Spider-Man cartoon,
Oh, yeah.
there was the Batman animated series, and that became canon.
It's true.
That was the canon for me before the actual comic books. Now, once I started to actually read the comic books, I was like, oh my gosh, look at this, I don't want to say X-rated, but like R-rated adult version.
Of course.
But
Especially
for a
with
very
Batman.
long time,
Yeah.
I wasn't comparing the X-Men movies to the comic. It was
No.
like, you're not
Separate.
following the cartoon.
Uh-huh.
You're not following that Fox cartoon.
Then are we watching new canon?
Well,
odd
and
way.
I think we are. I
Yeah.
think we are. But again, like you said, it does have to start from somewhere. But I think that it misses the point it misses some things in some of the characters, but
It's shorthand. It's
Before-
long form storytelling versus short form
Yes.
storytelling.
now
And movies absolutely do that. But
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm with you though.
Now, we got Shocker in there.
We do.
got Scorpion. We got Tinkerer. That was the
I
little
missed
guy.
Tinkerer.
Yeah, that was the guy that was always fixing stuff.
Yes,
Tinkerer,
yes, yeah.
right?
Yeah, okay.
You know, we
I thought I saw a black cat behind Peter in the hallway in school.
Was that her?
I don't know, white
I
hair,
don't
white
know.
hair, white girl. I went
don't
there.
know. I didn't want to look too deep into it.
Yeah, it's probably not, but
So, okay,
my brain's fun.
let's talk about some of the aspects of this Peter Parker,
Yeah.
right? One thing that I absolutely loved was that they showed and highlighted his tech genius side.
Yep. Especially in this era. We got,
Yeah.
he's a video diary guy, a YouTube
Right,
guy,
right.
tech stuff in class. He goes to a STEM school.
Right, and
Awesome.
I mean, he knows how to, make his own webbing. That's
Yeah.
great. He knows how
Because that's
to.
the Spider-Man, the homegrown DIY Spider-Man.
Exactly, and I think that's something that's central to the character.
Even though he gets a jolt with a Stark suit, he still is DIY.
Well, and I like the fact that he potentially could hack a Stark suit.
That was fun.
Stuff like that is fun.
Yeah.
And central to the character. Now I'm gonna get into my biggest grievance
Hit
right
it.
now. Biggest grievance, and I think that it's so. I don't know how they missed this, because it's been something that it's documented in the comic books. It's documented in the first Sam Raimi movies and in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. His Spidey senses were almost non-existent here.
That's extremely
and that
true.
is like one
It's
of
a
the
piece of the
biggest
character.
problems that I have with this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, Spider-Man's Spidey sense is equivalent to Superman. That's like taking away his strength.
It is.
That's like taking
That's a
away
core
Batman's
character piece.
prep time.
'Cause
Sorry,
we
but
can talk about
you know,
mechanical web shooters and
yeah,
organic
I mean,
shooters,
and
but that Spider
that's one
sense
thing.
is a difference
Spider
maker.
sense has always been one thing that's been central to Spider-Man, and I think what they did was they cheapened it.
Yes.
Made it almost non-existent because half of the things that was happening to Spider-Man in this movie, I kept thinking to myself, Tobey Maguire's would have dodged that.
Absolutely.
Andrew Garfield's would have seen
Yeah.
that coming.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Like, they completely neglected that one part that made him so unique, even in the movie
Yeah.
setting. And I'm very, very disappointed that they didn't emphasize that. Like,
I like what
if
you're saying
anything, all they did was just make him have really good reflexes.
Sure.
But that's not.
That's Spider-Man, but
I mean, that's Spider-Man, but that's
I need
not
that next level
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Like, Spider-Man
Sure.
is, oh crap, something's coming behind me that
Yeah.
I can't see, and I can still dodge it.
Right.
in the nick of time,
yeah.
of course.
One of our fellow colleagues and critics, Jeff York, said one of his gripes for the film, shout out to Jeff York in the establishing shot, is he said after the film, they made Spider-Man too much of a loser. And I kind of almost
No,
agree.
I
A
don't-
loser in battle, because he didn't have a spider sense,
Well,
and he
I'm
didn't
okay.
have the sharpest of
Well, okay,
stuff.
I'll slightly disagree,
Because
only
this is training wheel
because
Spider-Man.
one of Spider-Man's best qualities, and this is actually a strong thing about him, which is why I don't have a problem with them doing a younger Spider-Man, is showing his inexperience, showing
Fallibility.
his fallibility, and showing how he grows from that.
That's
I don't
true.
know if you noticed, but
I like that.
While
That
he
was-
because we get this Spider-Man that actually grows within the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it was really cool how in the beginning we're seeing him web slinging around. He's in his new suit, doesn't really know what's going on, and
Loses
like,
backpacks.
losing his balance,
Yeah.
and stuff. Like all those type of things were kind of cool. And then towards like the end of the movie, they didn't emphasize it a lot, but you started to notice like he started to
His
adapt
skill
to the
level's
suit,
good.
and he
Absolutely.
started to get a little bit better with it.
Yeah.
Using different weapons and stuff like that. And that's something that has always been central with Peter Parker, the character, and Spider-Man, is the fact that he's not perfect, and that
Yeah.
that's one of the things that's always made him so relatable
Yeah.
to everybody.
Because he could be any one of
Because
us.
he could be any one of us
screw
who
up
happens to
teenagers.
get bitten by a
Sure.
spider.
Yeah. And bails from prom and,
And
messes up his
yeah,
life.
I mean,
yeah.
like those are the things that I think I was okay with. I was
Okay.
okay with his inexperience.
Me too.
I was okay with him
Yeah.
making mistakes. I want him to make mistakes because, again, and especially in this movie, he's only 15.
Exactly.
He's only 15,
Which
so
I
it's
think
kind of
is
like
perfect.
I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to drive, which
That is
definitely
fun, too.
helps
Yeah.
helps a certain scene,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
But that is definitely a quality that doesn't hurt the movie whatsoever. especially if we're talking about he's going to grow later.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, I think. I'm glad that he's unlike where I didn't think he was a loser. It was just an observation I heard to the point where
Sure.
no, I'm with you. I like his fallibility. I like that there's room for him to grow. I think that goes back to where I was saying where they didn't bite off more than they can chew. They didn't make him this perfect hero the first time out. They didn't make his life perfect the first time out. There's room for his growth as a teen. There's room for his growth as a hero. I was worried, thanks to the over marketing of the film, that it would be too much Tony Stark. How did you feel about
You know
your
what?
Tony Stark
I
level?
actually really like what they did with him because he didn't overtake the movie.
I don't think he did either.
I think the trailers. You know what? If that's
It
what the
oversold
trailers, if that's what the now, to be fair, I don't watch the trailers. I've only watched the first
yeah.
trailer, and that's it. And
Yeah.
you guys know that's E-Man's golden rule. You watch the first trailer or teaser, and if you know
Yeah.
you're gonna watch it, don't watch anything else. You
He-
get nothing from that.
For the audiences that can't see this man, he has a tramp stamp
I'm-
of that quote
look,
on his,
I'm
on his
telling you,
body
I
tattoo.
might just have to put. I might just get a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Watch the first trailer only.
no regrets.
No regrets. You know?
We're the Millers
But
out here.
but
yeah.
you know, seriously, I mean, like, I've heard people talk about like, oh, I think they showed the whole movie and like
They definitely
the
did not
last
show the whole
trailer and
Yeah,
you
I
know,
don't think they
it's
did.
too much Tony Stark. I mean, look at him in the posters. Honestly,
But-
he
yeah.
was in this movie for like 15% of the time, if that.
If that, yeah.
And it wasn't overbearing. I think this was definitely Peter Parker's
Yeah.
story.
And like we were saying, I
Um,
think he's a good, without having to redo origin stories,
Right.
he's a good Uncle Ben replacement.
Yeah,
He's your guiding presence.
He's okay.
You
He's
need
good.
it. You know,
Um,
he didn't have to be Liam Neeson from Batman
No.
Begins. We don't need that kind
No.
of battle training mentor. We don't
Yeah.
have a training montage and all that BS.
Yeah.
It's just enough guiding presence because he's fallible and because he's
Right.
young. And even Tony Stark, especially the Tony Stark we've seen since Avengers, and it was honestly since Iron Man 2.
Uh-huh.
The Tony Stark of, blood's on my hands, people die on my watch. Like, I think he sees young Peter and goes,
Sure.
it's not, I just like that version of Tony Stark's around to tell Peter, no, you're not ready, you can't do all
Right,
this. Like,
right.
it was the right tone of Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And I tell you what, that Iron Spider suit at the end is really
man,
pretty.
look,
It's
you
really
know, I don't
pretty.
even know if I should call it the Iron Spider suit. 'cause, I
But
mean,
that's
like,
an MCU Iron Spider-Man.
Yeah,
suit.
but I was looking for the extra,
Oh, yeah,
the extra
man.
leg.
Yeah.
Now, if they had done that,
If that was
then-
out of the thing,
right?
Yeah.
If they had seen, shown like some legs popping
Yeah.
out or something, I would have been like,
Yep.
you did it. I
Yep.
don't care if it doesn't look the same, but
Yeah.
you did it. So
Uh-huh.
it was cool. But
cool.
that does bring me to my next point, which was like, I thought it was really cool that the suit was almost like a character in itself.
is it too Iron Man-y though? I bet some people's complaints are gonna be like, if I'm gonna have my DIY Spider-Man,
You
and
mean
even
like with Karen?
yeah, like is that you have 584 different web shooters? Like, is it too easy?
Well,
and
the
too
question
much?
is like, is he going to actually utilize all?
And
that?
he didn't. You know,
I
yeah.
mean,
It sells action figures, that's for sure.
well,
it's a good looking
there'll
suit.
definitely be a lot of action figures for this, and it's a good marketing tool. But I mean, I like the interaction with
Yeah,
the
he needed
AI.
it.
Because he does need something else to talk to.
He
Unfortunately,
just wanted to be the over-explainer of this.
yeah,
of this
unfortunately though, I mean, like, one of the things that's always been cool with Spider-Man, at least in the comics and actually in the cartoons too, has been he would talk to himself.
thing. Oh yeah, quippy
and
guy.
like
yeah.
every time he talks to himself, he's talking to us.
Uh-huh.
Or vice versa, or we're him. And
Does this work as a replacement for that, so to speak?
No, I don't. I don't think so. I mean,
I'd rather have
I think,
quippy
I think it keeps
Spider-Man.
the audience in their place. And
Yeah.
you're still in the audience watching Spider-Man talk to someone else versus
He's
if
talking
we
all
were
that, yeah.
if he was talking to himself, we have that inside access to
That's
what
true.
he's thinking, what he's doing, and stuff like that.
Is that as critical of a loss as Spider-Sense or second?
I think it's a secondary, but it's also important.
I agree.
If you're talking about making them relatable.
We're going true blue Spider-Man, right?
And again, like, you don't have to stick exactly to the comics. I mean, I get that, but you still need to keep this core personality traits,
Yeah.
character traits and aspects that make the character that made the character popular to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Because whenever you mess with the core essence of a character, that's when it can go awry, right?
Right.
Um,
Normally, my biggest gripe in Spider-Man films, and unfortunately, it's a trait of the comics that I It's the largest trait of the comics that has been translated to the film that I just don't like is normally in Spider-Man canon, comic or otherwise, for some darn reason, every single character, villain, hero, and otherwise, is related. Like,
Yeah.
no, Osborn's always around and he knows like he's Peter's best friend.
All
And,
right, well, before we go to that,
it's not nepotism.
No,
but it's
I know
just-
what you mean.
It's
I know what you mean.
overlayered.
I want to go there. I want to
hate
go
that
there.
about Spider-Man, and it's a comic flaw that shows up now in movies.
Hold that thought. Hold
Yeah.
that thought, because I definitely want to go
I
to
hate
the
that.
connection part.
Yeah.
But before we go there, talk to me about how did you feel about Michael Keaton's Vulture?
He's fine. I'm not super seeped in my Vulture lore.
Okay.
We keep saying it. He's an MCU Vulture.
Yeah,
he's
he's-
another villain in a
Yeah.
powered suit.
And
He's Whiplash.
This is something
You
that
know, it's-
I don't know if I can hold it against the movie, because one thing that
His acting's fine,
no, his acting was definitely
but
fine.
we're back at mechanized suit villains.
Yeah, I'm okay with
It's
that
overdone.
just because it's still different. And
It's different than comic, but-
I'm fine if, as long as the villain poses a unique challenge to the hero.
And he does.
I don't care how you do
Yeah.
it, but that's fine with me.
Okay. How are you with Vulture?
With Vulture, one of my, and I can't hold this against the movie just because it's my own personal expectation, and it's not fair for me to bring my personal expectations and hold that against the movie,
True,
right?
true.
So, like, for example, we didn't get a Vulture that was reliant on sucking the life energy out of people. Because keep in
yes.
mind, in the comics and in the cartoon, Vulture is really a very old man
Yes, he is.
who has to utilize this life-sucking
Mm-hmm.
ability to give him energy because the suit drains his body.
Yeah.
Is
Is that too
and I thought they were
existentially in the MCU world?
not at
where
all.
everything's tech?
Because the second you bring in alien technology that is radioactive, by the way,
They
I
could
thought
decay
that
him.
that would have been
Ooh,
a perfect
good point.
intro for that.
Sure.
But they didn't touch on that.
No.
So I was a little disappointed with that.
Keaton's grizzled enough to play
Yeah,
old,
yeah,
but
but
not.
I thought
that
they were
old.
gonna do.
He's the Aunt May of Vulture.
Yeah, I know,
He's a
right?
shade young.
So
you know.
I mean, I was a little disappointed with that, but again, I can't hold that against the movie.
Nah, I can't either.
And actually, what I do like about it, because a lot of knocks against MCU villains is that they're boring and whatever.
This one's not.
I thought this was a ground level villain.
Agreed.
And I'm very
It fit the
okay
neighborhood
with this
Spider-Man villain.
This villain could fit into a Netflix MCU type
Sure.
of TV show.
If this was
because
extended, like
you know, if it was
his
connected, yeah.
business and his hype, and it took Spider-Man longer than a 2-hour movie to figure him out. Like,
sure,
this
I mean,
could be a
it's-
10-episode villain. Sure.
You know, for him, what I always look for with villains to make them better than just meh is
Mm-hmm.
their motivation. I like his motivation. It was very simple. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm a blue-collared, hard-working kind of guy,
Yeah.
and these rich people in their towers and stuff like
or the
you know,
government. you know,
yeah,
he's
or
a-
the
he's-
government.
he's a-
Like he's someone that I could actually see becoming a criminal. You know,
Yep.
not being bad just for the sake of being bad. You know,
Yeah.
his motivations are there. He has another dynamic with his family.
Right.
So he makes for a, I don't want to say a complex character, but in a not so stale,
Yeah.
one-dimensional.
a shade or
villain.
two more complex than
Yes.
than the Marvel villain train we've
Yes.
been getting lately.
Now we can get into the point that you were talking about.
Okay.
I did not like the idea of the connection.
I
didn't
hate
see the
that,
twist.
yeah.
Did you see the twist coming?
Did I see it coming? No.
Okay, I didn't
No.
see it coming.
And I'm glad they hit it well.
I heard from somebody that they
Did
saw it
you?
coming, but you know my
Shit.
gripe about that.
Yeah.
You know, you don't call something a prediction if you call it right when they reveal it.
Yeah, no.
You need to call that sucker like 20 minutes
No.
into the film.
They
But
had me.
That's another thing. I didn't know it either. You know, it was kind of a throwaway with the whole interracial thing. So
Mhm. I
you
like
know,
that.
And I'm fine with it. I'm
Hey,
totally
I got
fine
to
with
see
it.
Miss Candy in the movie.
Hey, fancy.
Fancy. Miss
Yeah,
Fancy.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm
She's gorgeous.
definitely yes. I'm definitely okay with the twist. My only issue is the whole identity thing. I don't like the idea that people know who he is, and I
Agreed.
think that's a very
It's
bad
overdone.
part.
It's overdone
I mean,
in Batman
it's-
movies. It's overdone now in these movies.
It was working so well
Without it.
when
Yeah.
Peter knew who he was,
Mhm.
but not the other way around.
Yeah. And he
I-
figures it out in a car
and he
ride with
figured it
shitty
out
clues.
so quickly.
Yeah.
And you know, and I was just like,
Ugh.
I don't like it.
I
It's
didn't
just,
like that either.
I hated it.
Because it
felt
stepped
weird.
into the stuff of Spider-Man I
feels
don't
weird.
like,
Here's
which is
the only
everybody
person-
knows Peter, and
there are
Peter
only
knows
two
everybody.
people.
City of 9 million people, and
Exactly.
all the people Spider-Man knows are supervillains.
I mean, there are only two people that should know who Peter Parker is.
Mm-hmm.
One should be Osborn,
Yep, which is fair.
and two should be Venom.
Yeah.
Because of, maybe shared
Where we're
memories,
going with
whatever.
that, sure.
Those are the only two people that, because you have to think about it like this. When you know Peter Parker's identity, that's a trump card for him,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, I liked how they kind of sealed that deal towards the end, where because he saved Vulture, now he's not going to divulge his identity. So like
weak sauce.
that's kind of
Yeah.
like his little "I owe you one." Like I'm not gonna.
Sure.
Fine.
I guess.
But it was unnecessary.
Unnecessary.
They didn't need to
Nope.
do that.
Because
Um,
we've seen too many Spider-Man.
I would have been
villains.
fine if like maybe the Vulture's like, I'm just not gonna do crime anymore because he saved me.
Sure.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
The reveal of the
Because
identity
he
thing,
cares about my daughter. and
Yeah.
he saved me, and
You
I'm
know,
getting out of this. And
whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that part I wasn't a fan of because
because guess what? It's going to walk into the Sinister Six.
yeah, right. And the thing is, I'm fine with them keeping all those things separate. Like keep his identity separate, so that way the Sinister Six can actually go after him for the persona of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And leave it at that.
Nope.
I don't need the
We're
extra
going to get Aunt May.
complications.
We're going to get the extra complications.
I don't need
on
those
May.
extra
I know.
complications. Not yet.
No, not yet.
I would have wanted that for a Venom movie.
Sure.
I'd want that because then, like, and I said this in my other video, like, Venom poses the most unique threat to Spider-Man because, for one, he has all of his
Yeah,
abilities.
bigger,
he's
stronger, faster. Yeah.
But
No,
he also doesn't trigger his Spidey sense, which
Mhm.
is
Which
non-existent
we're-
in
yeah,
this
right.
movie.
Yeah.
And he knows who Spider-Man is, so he can go try and kidnap Aunt May and do all these things that really puts
Yeah.
Spidey in a position that he's not used to.
Yeah.
This, yeah.
So, with a Venom movie in the works,
Yeah.
is it too soon because we're at 15-year-old Spider-Man?
no.
Is it too
well? It depends on how they want to connect this because
Yeah.
to me,
Because a
what I'm looking
38-year-old
for-
Tom Hardy beating the crap out of a 19-year-old Tom Holland, I think he's
he's not
20.
even going to be 19 at that point.
He's
I
20.
think.
Well, no, the character won't be. Tom
No.
Holland's 20, but yeah, he's a young.
no,
looking
he's
20.
15.
Tom Holland, the actor, no. he's
Oh,
like
you mean
19.
the actor?
But yeah,
I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
I
Like,
saw- yeah.
But I mean,
No, I'm okay
can
with
that
it.
work?
I'm okay with it. I mean, like, it depends. Here's the thing: the one way that you make a Venom movie work, you have to establish a couple things. One, you have to show when Spidey gets the suit. Spoiler alert. Well, this is a spoiler cast anyway.
Yeah.
He obviously doesn't get it in this movie.
Nope.
Which means he's going to have to get it in Infinity War, some way, shape, or form. Which
would
I'm
be nice.
fine with.
Oh, a little-
I'm
little
okay with
Secret
that.
War dash
because let's
thrown
be
into Infinity
honest.
War.
This movie was like a Sony movie, but they were like, "Hey, look at all this Marvel stuff." So I
They
wouldn't
were
be
very
surprised.
happy to have the partnership.
Oh, absolutely.
Look at this
Wouldn't be
great friend I
surprised.
brought over to my house. Hey, this
Exactly.
is Marvel right
exactly.
here, guys.
Like that was 15 minutes of look at all this Marvel stuff.
Yeah, we
But
did right.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to be surprised if in Infinity War, even though Spider-Man is supposed to have similar screen time as he did in Civil War, but
Okay.
in Infinity War, I wouldn't be surprised if they at least did something to give Sony a little pat on their back as well, which I would hope would be that whole
I
thing
think
because
Black Suit is Spider-Man
after-
kicking ass in Infinity
because
War.
after Infinity War, then you just have Thor. So
You have Thor first this
or
this fall.
I'm saying
Then we
before the
Black
Venom
Panther.
movie. You have both of those before the
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
before
yes,
the
yes.
Venom movie.
Yeah.
So you have to throw it in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But how do you establish? So you have to establish.
We're
the
not at the
suit.
Daily Bugle.
Right. So
and
you
we're
have
not
to
with Eddie
establish the
Brock.
suit first, right? But then you also have to establish Eddie Brock's motivations. Like, why does he hate Peter Parker? He
And
has
to
to
me,
hate
that's
Peter Parker.
that's a
Not just hate
two-movie
Spider-Man.
arc. I need to see Tom Hardy
I-
working at the Daily Bugle on a movie before he becomes Venom.
And that part I
kind
don't
of
get.
stuff.
That part I
They're
don't
gonna
get.
rush
Because-
that.
Now, who was the actor that was Shocker 1 and then died?
That's Logan Marshall Green for
Okay.
Prometheus.
I thought that he was Tom Hardy because of the beard.
Oh no!
Like
that's
at
not-
first,
yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
"Oh crap!
Yeah.
Tom Hardy's gonna actually be part of this makeshift suit,"
Which
you
would've
know?
been cool.
And I
Wrong
would've been
character,
like-
wrong place,
Would've
but I
been wrong
would've-
character,
yeah.
wrong place. But I would have been so much happier if they had introduced him as just like a random henchman that gets foiled by Spider-Man, and then maybe you can kind of sort of build it that way.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen, and his character was completely wasted.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm not going to really understand the motivations
Or the
behind
timeline.
or the timeline, like
Yeah.
because But here's the other problem with this Venom movie, because they're saying Carnage is supposed to be the antagonist in that movie, which
That's also too
sets
soon,
Venom
too.
up to be the anti-hero.
Yeah.
But my thing is like, and I'm not saying you have to go buy the book in the comics, but you have to have the suit come from Spider-Man.
Yep.
You have to have Eddie Brock and or the symbiote have a mutual hatred for
Yep.
Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And then you have to have, once the Carnage comes about, they both have to. I think they both have to go and try and kill Spider-Man. But then, of course, Venom is like, he's my kill. Like you can't have him. Then they duke it out. But I want them to tag team against Spider-Man first.
Is that
before
movie
they
too
go.
dark for this tone of Spider-Man right now?
I think there's a reason why they're going to be completely different.
That's when
There's-
Sony goes on
That's
their own.
where because all the Sony spin-offs are completely their own thing. Marvel's not touching it.
No, Marvel's giving them their little nudge, and
Marvel's
yeah.
giving them a little nudge. I mean, if anything, I would say that if Marvel gives Spider-Man the black suit, that serves their purpose more than it serves Sony's. Because if I'm not mistaken, Spider-Man had the black suit during that whole time.
Sure.
So it wouldn't be necessarily a problem.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have a lot of questions for the Venom movie. But let's get back to
Yeah,
this.
back to this
I mean,
one. Yeah.
random. I like the supporting characters.
Absolutely, Ned's
I
fun.
like Ned. He was great.
Yeah.
He was fun.
The ragtag group of high school people are good.
I liked Hannibal, even though he was in like 2 scenes.
He's always good. I don't mind. I like the differences they made in the characters. Like Tony Revolori from Grand Budapest Hotel made
I
a
was very
different
worried.
Flash
I was
Thompson.
very worried about him,
But he
like,
played a good bully, dorky bully. But
He's
I
okay.
want the high school jock and not the academic team jock.
I'm
but
not. I don't care.
It's Flash Thompson.
I-
It's whatever.
I just like.
yeah.
I just didn't care about
Yeah.
him.
I liked we'll call her MJ because this is a spoiler show.
Yeah,
It's a fun.
I thought
It's
that
a
was-
fun character. I think she knows he's Spider-Man,
I don't think she knows,
I think she
but
knows.
I think,
and she's playing it close to the vest.
yeah, I mean, obviously she likes him.
Yeah, totally.
You know, it's a different take on the character.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it. Only
Because here we are,
Like,
right?
are we doing
Yeah.
the ugly duckling to a beautiful swan type of thing? Like, is
Yeah.
that the angle we're going with it? 'Cause,
Sure.
I mean,
Hard to say no to hot redheads.
obviously,
right?
yeah. And I mean, are they gonna dye her hair? And
I don't know, man, yeah.
I mean,
I like. I know you might point out the diversity. It's a nice plus.
I'm okay with the diversity.
It felt like a STEM.
It's just
school
that
with
I
people.
don't. Okay, I'm okay with the diversity because there's nothing that necessarily
Like
dictates.
Flash Thompson doesn't have to be a white.
He doesn't have to
varsity
be
jock.
white. MJ doesn't have to be
No.
white.
We all
a
think of
white
the hot
either.
redhead, but
I
we
mean,
don't have to
she
have
would
it.
probably need some red hair or some
Do
highlight.
you find that to be essential?
I think that
it's
that's
hair color.
She's called red. Like
I know.
Like
I
I'm
know.
just saying that I think for her character,
Yeah.
I'm very disappointed that one, she's not the model artsy type. Because the whole purpose of her is to be out of Spider-Man's league.
Oh yeah.
Now of course if we go the ugly duckling route or whatever, she can get there, I guess.
Sure, of course.
But I mean, I just think that those are basic things that they didn't have to change.
Because now we're going back to
Now
changing
she's-
canon for the service of
Yeah,
film.
I mean, now she's smart. Now she
Yeah.
okay,
Edgy,
fine.
yeah.
She's edgy. She's independent.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Sure.
But I just don't think you needed to change it.
No.
You know.
It's probably true.
I saw the reveal coming for a while. I mean, like, oh, my name's Michelle. I'm not MJ. Okay,
Sure.
you got a middle initial.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'm sure.
Uh-huh.
Whatever. So it wasn't the biggest deal. Yeah.
Since we're diving into canon, do you need a Gwen Stacy
I
at
think
some point?
I think what was
Sophomore
the
in high
girl's
school
name?
right now.
What was the girl's name that left?
Liz.
Liz. I thought she was Gwen Stacy.
Me too.
I thought that.
I took it as that.
especially with the elevator scene,
Uh-huh.
with the shaft. And when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, are they gonna go there?
Are they gonna kill the
Are they gonna
bitch?
do
Yeah,
it?" Like
yeah.
I thought they were gonna go there, but
Glad they didn't. Honestly,
yeah, glad they didn't.
because we've seen that.
I don't think you need a Gwen Stacy.
No.
Because in different iterations of Spider-Man, like she's
Yeah.
not
No.
there like that.
No.
I think they handled it with Amazing Spider-Man, and
Yep, that's enough.
she can be fine there.
Uh-huh.
But no, I don't think that she was necessary.
I'll think of aesthetics here.
Yeah.
I like action was good. I don't think 3D
Yeah.
is needed. I think we
No.
saw it. Now we props to AMC and our
Yeah.
press people. We got to see it on the Fancy Pants Dolby Atmos cinema.
Yeah, I mean,
sound. I
don't know about
Sounds
it.
fun. I wasn't wowed by the visuals.
I don't think this was the right movie for that.
That's a good way of saying it.
I think that, like I said before, I'd rather see a Baby Driver,
Yeah.
a Mad Max
And
Fury
we got to
Road.
see a little snippet of
We
Baby
did.
Driver
I mean,
on that screen, and that
if
was
you're gonna go
perfect.
Dolby Atmos, like those are the movies you
Yeah.
need to go for.
Yeah.
This movie had moments. This is equivalent to when you see one of those 3D movies that has like one or two really great scenes in 3D, and
the
then you
rest is a-
completely
yeah.
forget that it's in 3D.
Yeah, and the
This
rest is a
the same
cash
thing.
grab to get your $3 extra.
This is the same thing, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it.
No,
in the
I wouldn't
Dolby
recommend
Atmos.
3D. I wouldn't recommend the Dolby.
Yeah,
See it on a normal,
I don't even think the
good
3D
old-fashioned
was needed for this movie, and that's actually
No.
kind of disappointing.
No, because
Spider-Man
the way he
is-
can move spatially,
yeah,
so to speak, should be fun.
It should be.
Yeah.
But that definitely wasn't necessary. For
I
this
liked.
movie. But this was like a really fun movie.
Yeah, lighthearted.
But I'm going to say it might be to its detriment as well. There were a couple scenes.
How do you
that-
mean? What do you need
So-
to be different tonally?
There was nothing with tone. It's just that I felt like there were a lot of scenes that could have been great bonus features on a DVD.
This
that we
movie's
didn't
long.
really
This
need.
movie is long.
It's
I'm with you there.
It's close to 2.5 hours.
It
It's 2
is.
hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But there were a couple scenes I was like, I would have, if you had saved that for a bonus DVD, I would have actually been more enticed to go get the DVD afterwards.
Give me an example of something you chop or trim. I'm putting you on the spot.
A
but
lot of the scenes with Ned could have been cut.
I think a lot of
um,
scenes with Tinkerer could have been cut.
Just maybe
I
some
don't need to
of
hear about the
yeah.
vacuum suit 3 times.
Sure, absolutely.
know.
Some of those. I think some of the scenes with Happy could have been cut.
Agreed.
Again, they're not horrible.
No.
They
But
just don't.
They're bonus.
They
features
don't.
on a DVD.
They don't. If you
They're
take
your
them out,
extended edition.
yeah. If you take them out the movie is not effective.
No, not at all.
You know, they're good fluff.
Yeah.
And
totally.
that's all it is. So yeah, some of those scenes could have definitely been gone.
I'll give props to second movie in a row, second recording with you in a row. I'll give props to Michael Giacchino's score. Nice little
Wow.
score.
See, I don't pay attention to the score.
Yeah.
I didn't know he did this again.
No, it's
So
him again.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'll let you go roll.
Oh
with
no!
that.
My full fan boner was up in the opening credits when he gives homage to the old '60s
Oh,
Spider-Man
oh,
theme.
that was awesome.
That's perfect.
That was awesome.
Full orchestra blaring that old
Yeah,
theme.
yeah.
Now he goes away from that. Like he sets your stage with that to let you know we're doing Spider-Man. But then he makes his own score.
Yeah.
And it's still triumphant. It's still brassy. It's still big trumpets, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Not as good as his Planet of the Apes score
No.
from last week, but perfect.
I'm
The right
just gonna
tone.
say, outside of that intro scene, it wasn't enough to get my attention.
No, that's why.
Yeah.
Whereas in Planet of the Apes,
Yeah, Planet of the
that
Apes,
piano
it definitely
motif
got-
shows up.
Yes.
That tribal motif shows up in like his Lost. Because man, he's the composer who did the old TV show Lost. So some of those stingers of suspense show up more in Planet of the Apes than this. But
Yeah.
he had me at the opening scene. That's
Okay.
for sure. Yeah.
I mean,
Or the credits.
are you
music.
okay with the Iron Man tie-ins? Since
yeah, I had-
2008.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the Iron Man
know.
2 stuff that's come to light on the internet?
Right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Let it be. You know,
Okay.
it explains a little bit of his
Like, where's
obsessive
Pepper
hard on
been?
his obsessive. Well, that part.
Yeah.
Especially because we get the fastest, weakest engagement scene
My
ever,
gosh,
don't we?
That was
Um,
very generic.
But no, like it's. I know it made the clickbait on the internet stuff with Tom Holland talking about it that he's the little boy in Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
I don't mind that because that maybe
That part I didn't-
that help
I didn't
explains
mind.
his
Yeah.
complete awestruck
Perception.
fandom of
Yeah.
Tony Stark.
I didn't mind that at all.
I didn't mind that at all. It's
I was just-
easy.
I just felt like this was more fan service. Like,
It's
hey,
fan service for
the
sure.
Iron Man movies are not that bad, so here's Pepper.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, you could. I mean, you're right. I think, yeah, Happy Hogan is a cheaper version of a person to get in this movie than having RDJ all day long. I mean, they probably saves a couple $1,000,000 that way. So
Yeah.
you're right. You probably could cut all of Happy and just leave it be remote RDJ, and it's
It was
fine.
okay, but
It's
like
fine.
I don't know if that's just fan service
That's
for
fan.
Favreau.
It-
It'd just be like, we need you to kind of
Come back to Iron Man.
Right.
Hey, stay in good graces with John.
you
Give
know.
him a spot in a movie.
Real quick takes.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of funny for a black family to be moving to Oregon, like of all places. I'm like, she
Watch,
says
watch,
it's
watch
nice
him go to
there.
Portland. Watch him go to
I-
Portland.
She was like, oh shit, it's nice there. I'm like, what? Who
Portland,
told you
yeah.
this? What? Okay, whatever.
Have you seen this? This is if I remember right, this is a young director. Have you seen John Waits' first film, or the last film, Cop Car, the Kevin Bacon movie that
I did not.
that put
I
him on the map
wanted
and
to.
got him
I
got him
wanted
this
to
job?
because I liked the premise.
Yeah.
But I never got around to it, and I don't think it got very good reviews. So
It's
I kinda
middle of the road
strayed.
reviews. I mean, I've seen it. It's worth a look. Kevin Bacon's really good. It's
Yeah.
a completely different movie than this.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I have to admit, I haven't. Some of those like behind the scenesy like villain motivation things that are flavors of Michael Keaton's character comes from a little bit of that unseedy. Comes from some of that seedy character stuff that Bacon did in Cop Car.
Okay.
It's not essential viewing by any means.
Yeah.
Whereas, unlike with Colin Trevorrow for like Book of Henry and Jurassic World,
Yeah.
I would always tell people go see Safety Not Guaranteed.
Okay.
You know, like because they've been doing that. They've been doing these indie directors come to
yeah.
big films. Like
Yeah. Just
I don't
to
think
get
you
a good
need
take.
500 Days of Summer to go enjoy the other two Spider-Man films from Mark Webb. Like that's not needed either.
True.
You know.
So, what would you say? I mean, like best Spider-Man film ever?
No, that's Spider-Man 2.
Yeah,
It's
I
still
gotta,
Spider-Man 2 for
I
me.
know.
I
I wrestled with that while
Yeah.
watching because I was just like,
It's second best.
Where does this rank?
Yeah.
Would I want to see this again? I kind of feel like if there was an edited version, I would.
You want that trimming? Right
I
now,
want
yeah.
some of that trimming just because I feel like we watched a lot.
Yeah.
We watched a lot. I mean, if you think about it, there were some really big scenes,
Mhm.
you know, from when he was in high school and then when they went to Washington,
Yeah.
and then when he was on the boat, and
Yeah.
then like there were some major chunks in this movie
Yeah,
where
which I appreciate. I don't mind a
I'm
full
fine
body
with
film.
it, but it was almost like,
Still too long.
dare I say, you almost could have ended the movie a couple different places,
Easily,
you know?
definitely.
Um,
Definitely.
But yeah, I think Spider-Man 2 is still fine.
It has-
at its top place.
Yeah.
Um,
In the way that we just got done talking about Planet of the Apes, Spider-Man 2 has the feels.
Yeah.
And this one has the fun, but not the feels.
Yeah,
Not that level of
I feel like they
subway
were so close.
scene in Spider-Man
They were so close.
2.
They were so
They
close.
were close to getting you some feels in
Oh,
this.
they were so close, and I mean,
And it's okay that they don't
And I guess
get
I'm
'em.
glad that I'm not feeling fanlexial with this because
Yep.
walking out, I was just kind of like, I'm not
I'm
amazed.
nodding my head.
I'm
they
not
did good.
amazed,
They did
you know,
good.
but like, yeah, you did good.
You did good. You did
Um,
right by the character. You didn't screw it up.
Nah.
Well, I mean, the spider sense-
Spidey sense
yeah,
still
yeah.
bothers.
But I
that
mean-
really bothers me because
I-
I'm just
all
like,
right.
come on, this is
Yeah.
that is his thing.
Then this is the best Peter Parker movie.
If you want to go with the young Parker, I'll give you that.
'Cause
even
I'm
though
not
still
a Tobey Maguire guy.
I'm still partial to Tobey Maguire.
I can't
He
stand Tobey
always
Maguire.
encapsulated the nerdy Spider-Man that turned into the confident one. And if you can't show that dynamic, you're not showing Spider-Man.
You don't
'Cause
think
Andrew
this guy-
Garfield did not
No,
touch
Andrew-
that
yeah,
at
no,
all.
not-
He
didn't
was
touch
always
it at all.
cool.
Yeah,
Like he was
Well,
always
the skater guy. He was more the rebel than the cool than the
but
nerd.
That's not Tony Parker.
No,
like,
it's- yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
not Tony.
Yeah.
Wrong sport, right? It's not Peter Parker. I mean, this one he was okay, but like, did you ever feel as though there was a difference between Peter Parker and Spider-Man? I didn't.
Good point. Good point.
Like I
these
never
should be-
saw because
Yeah.
one of the things
One
that
should be the
makes
confident
him,
side of the
yeah,
nerd,
I mean,
right?
like he's got a mask on. Like,
you know
again,
what?
That's part of the part
The-
that makes him
the-
who he is.
The one trait that does come out now, it doesn't come out enough because we have Karen, but his talkativeness comes out
Sure.
more in Spider-Man than it does as Peter.
Okay.
Not enough so,
Yeah,
but it's
I mean,
there.
there's not a big enough dynamic.
No, not enough, not
between
enough.
the two.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think we have a slingshot that can make him there. I mean, this
I mean,
is the
like,
movie that
there-
gains his
but-
confidence
okay,
forward.
So the thing is that there's a lot of room to grow. There's a lot of
And
room
I'm fine
to
with that.
Um, get better for this character. I don't know how quickly they're going to get there.
Well, that's what worries me because of Venom movies being fast tracked. Like I'd
saying
rather
the
have
Venom
them
is
slow
not
down.
gonna even be about Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man may do a guest appearance. I'm thinking that they're cheating with that.
That's cheating.
The same way that they lied about MJ and everything.
Yeah.
I think what they're gonna do is they will have Spider-Man in it, but they'll just have him do a voiceover because you don't need the actor.
Yeah.
You know.
Or it's something observed.
You just
from
need
afar.
him to like come and stop the crime or
Sure.
whatever. And
He's
that's it.
Batman in Suicide Squad.
Sure, yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. How'd you feel about the end credit scene?
First one or the second one?
First one.
First one's our Sinister Six
Yeah.
push, and like we said earlier, I think they're doing it with the right villain motivations and not just manufactured. It feels more organic.
Yeah.
For now, but that's we're 2 out of 6 here. I think whoever we get as a villain in the next standalone Spider-Man movie will matter.
Well,
we both want Kraven.
I would love
Kraven. I would
want
love
Kraven
a.
bad.
I know we both laughed at Mysterio, but it could play.
I'm fine with Mysterio.
It could- in today's effects and stuff.
Mysterio was like my number 3. Like,
Yeah.
because I think he just makes for a safe
Yeah,
visual movie.
this is a safe
And that's
visual
what this
movie
was.
too.
That's
yeah.
what this was exactly.
Especially
so.
to keep it, like you said, grounded, a neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah. Which I'm
Yeah,
okay with.
Kraven
So,
would be awesome though,
Craven would be a great.
because that would
one-off.
push him further.
Yeah, I think that'll make him have to deal with stuff. I mean, coming right off of 13 Reasons Why, and
Yeah.
we're dealing with.
And I
suicide,
think Kraven toughens him up for when we
Sure.
have to get to Venom. I want Kraven before Venom.
But I mean, he's got to face Venom first.
Yeah, I know.
Like Venom will exist first. So
Yeah, that's gonna be
whatever.
Um,
But the second one, I mean,
that's them trolling us for
I
sure.
I hate trolls.
They got us good
They
too.
got us. I mean, all I wanted was just something like, hey, we're going up into space and we found some Black Goo stuff or something.
Something.
I would've been
or
okay with
a
that.
Thor thing, a
Something.
Tony thing that gets us to Infinity War.
Just anything.
Yeah.
Like, hey, here's our new ship.
I
or
think
whatever.
could your post credits because I guess it's part of the ending. Could the press conference decision have been your post credits scene?
It could have been.
You know,
I
your
think
suit
they could've-
reveal for a
they
second.
could have used that instead of this engagement or whatever.
Yeah.
but whatever.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, I mean, I think we've covered almost
Yeah.
everything. I mean,
what's a preview of your reason here, sir?
it's a good enough Spider-Man.
Mhm.
It's not better than Spider-Man 2.
No.
I wouldn't say it's the best Spider-Man to date, but it does have room to become that in the franchise. This movie didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
I don't think it's for comic book fans. I don't know if it's even for older non-comic book movie fans. There's obviously a push to make this like some sort of 80s teen bop movie.
John Hughes
You know,
flavor
like
here,
like I mean, I get the whole, Ferris Bueller's Day Off and stuff.
Cleverly
but,
done. in
But
my
to me, I'm
opinion.
like, I don't think that's a smart move. I don't think you do that for the target audience that you're trying to get.
But isn't that today's millennials that have 80s parents, and that's what we have? Like
Today's
we watch YouTube.
the
we
people
watch
that
Dope,
are coming
we
to
watch,
watch this,
you know,
the people that are coming to watch this are not coming with their parents.
it's true.
So it's kind of like, why are you trying to
Are
play
you
up to your
servicing to
parents,
the parents?
when, like, you're
Yeah.
barely servicing to
Are
me
you
in my
saying-
30s?
are you saying a
and
young-
I'm not necessarily a Ferris Bueller avid person. Like, like I've
Yeah.
seen the movie,
Are
I
you
respect
saying-
it, but it's not something like, oh my gosh, they made that reference. Like, I'm
So are
not
you
jumping
saying a
for
young
joy.
Snapchatting 19-year-old's going
They're
to watch
not
this
going to
movie
care.
and yawn?
I guarantee you that's going to go right over their face.
They're going to yawn and be like, oh,
It's
whatever.
not going to make the connection that
They're not gonna
you
make the-
would want it to make. That connection was for people that literally grew up watching it.
Well, that's I think
it's
that's
not
why
a little
Michael
older.
Keaton works for us, but probably won't work for a younger audience. Like we
Michael
get
Keaton is
Michael
not,
Keaton.
Yeah, I mean Michael
We
Keaton
get
at
Michael
this
Keaton.
point, yeah, like we respect him
Oh,
because
yeah.
we grew up with him with Batman. But
Uh-huh.
like my little brothers that are like 21 years old,
Mm-hmm.
they're not gonna be like, oh crap, it's Michael Keaton.
No.
Like
It'd be
they're
like
gonna
that's the funny cop from the
if
other
anything,
guys. Yeah.
it's probably going to be Vulture for them.
Yeah, that's right.
It might be their introduction. I doubt they go see Birdman.
No, it's
you know,
true.
I doubt
That's
that
not
they.
their-
You know what I mean?
Kids
Like
aren't gonna watch a movie
They're not
like
going
that.
to see stuff like that. So,
No.
you know, I
And
get.
this
I get
is the
kinda
intro for Tom
conflicted.
Holland too. They're not going to go find the impossible either. You know.
No.
Yeah.
Or Lost City of Z or whatever.
Oh, I hope they don't find that.
But yeah, I mean, you know, I'll obviously have a much cleaner reason.
That's okay.
In
Feel the
review,
previews
'cause
there.
This is all just reactionary
Yeah.
stuff. But
For me, my
Yeah.
takeaway is even though the spider sense and the quibbles that we have, I was happy that this was a neighborhood Spider-Man. Like
Yeah.
it stayed in Queens, even though it was filmed in Georgia and
Yeah.
Vancouver. I was happy that this was a fitting youthful Spider-Man.
it
That
actually
was
kind
good
of
enough
makes
for
me curious as to why he hasn't run into Daredevil or Punisher. or
Well,
anyone else.
yeah.
I mean, I
yeah.
know that they're not connected,
No, our
but the
time
fact
will
that
come.
you're trying to push the ground level stuff, because that's what the Netflix characters are
Exactly.
supposed to be.
Very ground level.
I'm like, why haven't we seen a
Different
Vincent
boroughs?
D'Onofrio and like, you know, being a Kingpin?
Because that would be a killer post-credit
That would
scene
be
in this movie.
awesome.
Kingpin turns
One.
out the TV looking at
That'd be
Spider-Man report and goes,
awesome
"We have
while
another
he's
problem."
in jail or something. I don't
Something,
know, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Or Luke
yeah,
Cage, something.
I think they can
Yeah.
do so much more with this, but they're playing it safe. Fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
or Marvel won't go full in because they know they're handing this to Sony.
Sure.
Like they're not. We didn't get an Avengers plug like
Right.
Infinity War stuff. Like we weren't getting a Thor Ragnarok preview. So like.
Yeah,
they-
I mean, it's still
they-
a very Spider-Man.
Like you said, it's the arm around the front of the party situation,
right.
and not a like this is. I know Tony Stark is in and all that,
Yeah.
but this felt like a sidebar more than a complete
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah,
It's connected, of course,
yeah,
but it's well, they use the analogies: baby monitors and training wheels.
right. Yeah, it's definitely training wheels. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna blow people away.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people
No,
will like
it's gonna
this.
make money. It's gonna do fine.
I'm on record saying that
But
I
this
think
isn't-
this would be Sony's like $1 billion movie.
Sure.
But
I think it's my
that's
number
more so because you're
3.
also bringing in the Marvel
Oh yeah,
bandwagon.
yeah. They're doing they're doing
so
it right.
By default, you're gonna get
Yeah.
that. But I don't know if everyone's gonna be enamored with this the way that
Because of the feels.
they want it to be.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You know, like
I hear you there.
Like for example, and I'm not giving my rating or anything. I feel
I
like
can give
people
mine today,
want
but
this
yeah.
to be like a 9 to a 10,
Mm-hmm.
but they might walk away. I can see people saying, "Nah, this is more like a 7.5."
Yeah, this
I
is
can
a
see
4,
people saying
this is a 4 out of 5 for me, which
Yeah.
is an 8
Okay.
or a hard 7. You know.
Okay, and I think that's fair.
That's where
I think
I'm at.
that range is
Yeah.
fair. It's not a 10.
Like we said, we're not checking our wrists for
right.
Fantaxia right now.
It's far from a 10.
Far from a 10.
I like anybody
Spider-Man-
that's like,
Spider-Man
"Oh,
2
this
is
is
a 10.
perfect." We have to talk.
Yeah,
Spider-Man 2 is a 10.
Spider-Man 2 is a 10.
Actually, I need to rewatch that to see if it's still.
I have the DVD at home of the 2.11,
Um,
like where it has extra stuff in
sure.
it. I need to try that one out for fun.
But yeah, I mean, worth the watch. Definitely something to go see in theaters.
Yep,
Not
this is a
worth
big
the 3D,
screen, legit
Not
movie.
worth the Dolby.
No,
Um,
see it in a good, see it in a
Plenty
good
of
old-
Easter eggs for you to, chomp at the bit for.
Mhm. And like you said, plenty
Yeah.
of potential,
Plenty of potential.
and so far unspoiled potential, and that's
Yeah.
the best part about it.
Yeah. All right. Tell the people where they can find you, man.
Find me, everymoviehasalesson.com. The embargo for this is tomorrow morning in like 9 hours. I'm going to see if I can write this overnight because I like being an early
I'm
bird with a
calling
worm.
tomorrow off so I can just.
See,
knock that out.
I'm a school teacher, so I have summer school tomorrow. I got to be up and at 8, so I'll see how bad I burn the midnight oil on this one. But everymoviehasalesson.com. Look for me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and those places as well. I'll try to do a video lesson for this one as well before the weekend. So that's me. Together, we are both on the Chicago Independent Film Critics Circle, chicagoindiecritics.org, and then E-Man is E-Man.
Yeah, everybody, you guys know how to find me by now, and in case you don't, at Eman's Reviews. That's on Twitter and Instagram. When in doubt, just Google Eman's Movie Reviews. I guarantee you'll find me some way, somehow. Definitely go follow me on Facebook. Facebook fan page is always active. We're always talking about movies, memes, and news and all that good stuff. You can also follow all my videos on YouTube. Again, that's E-Man's Movie Reviews. And I appreciate you guys for joining me once again. And you know what? I think we got something here with all these little podcasts. So maybe we'll do this a little bit more. So if you have any questions, by all means, please feel free to connect with me on any one of those social media outlets. If you got ideas for future shows or future topics, I'm very open to see where we can go with this.
That's because there's a top 5 for Miles Morales coming.
There might just be a top 5. I got to do a little research because I like to throw some curveballs.
I like your curveballs too.
We'll see what happens. So until next time, folks. See you later.